What's going on, guys? Art Dude Saz here. Just call me Saz. I hope everyone is having a very good day. Today I have another self-critique of a drawing session that I did quite recently. And this drawing session was of Juri Han from Street Fighter 6, a pose I took from Pinterest. And this took a lot out of me. To be honest with you, it was a quite difficult pose. And usually when I start drawing something I'm not super familiar with, mainly when I draw anything really, I like to put the reference on the page first and then not trace, but draw over the image to see the proportions. And that's exactly what I did here. And instead of drawing a static box, I did a sort of bending box to showcase the bending of her spine and her pushing her butt out, her pelvis out. And you can see that over here. So I did like a very crude building block image, and then I was like, I didn't like it at first. Redraw it. A lot of redrawing in this one. Do the face. I focus on the big shapes first, and the shapes that are the simplest before I move on to smaller details, right? Now for this one, I always mess this up in my drawings. I forget that it's in like a 3/4 perspective, kind of. So her boobs should be diagonal, right? It should be in perspective. I didn't do that. So I keep messing that up with my drawings. I need to remember how to do that. So just rough sketches all around. I drew her nose quite a bit smaller, and I drew her eyes a little bit too high, which I fixed in the later proportions of this drawing. And then after I get a feel for the picture, I erase the picture, and then while I'm drawing, I have the picture on my monitor so I can see in better details, because I can't see as much details when it's on the canvas. So I pull it up and I blow it up on my main monitor so I can see more details. A lot of times I've messed up a drawing where I solely look at the image on the canvas and not at the image on my second monitor, and I mess up a lot of details. So that's something I have to be aware of as well. Starting off with the big shapes. I never really got this proportion right. Her collar right here, her popped collar, in relation to her arm, and I messed up. Her arm is supposed to be closer to the camera to showcase that perspective, how close it is to the camera. Yeah, I tabbed out there for a little bit, so now I'm drawing again. Yep, just going over the base image. And I'm telling you, I struggled with this picture a lot. So the base drawing, after I do the first sketch, you can see I do 2 layers. This is the base layer, and then I duplicate it. I lock this layer, and then I soft erase on the original layer, and then I lock it. I make an original layer, another layer to draw on top of that. I very frequently mess it up, and if I forget to lock these 2 layers, I'll draw on these 2 layers instead of a new layer. And I'll mess up the drawing entirely because I can't flip back and forth. Have to keep that in mind. So once again, I'm forgetting my perspective with her breasts right here. And I feel as though her legs they're not as thick as they should be. And the main problems I had with this drawing is trying to figure out how thick I should make her pelvis and how it leads down to her legs right here, because the perspective is a little bit weird because her knees are at the same level right here, but her hand is quite close to the camera, and with the arm being closer to the camera, it covers the knee and you only see a little bit of her ankle down here. So I've struggled with this the entire drawing. I guess I'm not really good at drawing butts. what really, yep, I move it over, move the hand a little bit lower, and then I just go into the details. Now that I've got the general layout, I start to get a little bit of her costume outlining there. And see right there, I messed on the original image. Her butt is right here. This part of her butt should be right here, and then this portion should be a little bit lower. So I go ahead and quick fix that. So even though you can probably consider this a complete sketch with a little bit more effort, I want to do the rendering, right? So I fix her phone, I fix her fingers. I struggle a little bit with the fingers, not too much. Got the zipper. I probably should have kept this design of the zipper more instead of just doing squigglies. It seems a bit more coherent. Now at this point in the drawing, this is the point where I kind of crash out a little bit. I don't really know what to do with shading the purples and pinks and the dark purples of her outfit. So I try to do like this pressure-based inking with her hair, where I just do single strokes and I use the pressure caused by the pressure sensitivity, and it doesn't really work out. I try to do multiples. I try to scribble these ones, and it just looks awful. Like I was, in my effort to experiment, it made the underlying drawing look worse. And I feel as though I'm not capturing the forms of her body and the forms of her outfit as well. And I think her butt is a little bit too far out right here. I think I tone it down in the later drawings, in the revision. So I just generally, I kind of just gave up at this point. I didn't know what to do. The drawing didn't look bad, but I experimented too much, and well, it's not that I experimented too much, it's that I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know how to tackle the drawing. If I try cross-hatching her hair, doesn't look as good. I had the right idea here with following the curves, but generally it didn't look that great. So I'm like, okay, I'm already 2 hours into the drawing. This whole entire process, I sped up to 5 minutes, but this entire drawing took 3.5 hours because I was just having a no good, very bad, terrible day. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm on a separate layer. So this is why I made these layers, right? This is my original sketch, and then this is my revised sketch. So I messed up here because I forgot to make a separate layer. Soft erase this one and make a separate layer on top. I wasn't paying attention, and that very well could have messed up the entire drawing. See, I noticed. See right there, I noticed that I messed up the layering. So I duplicated it, soft erased it, locked the layers so I don't draw on them, and made a separate layer on top. So while I draw, I can use the little eye icon and I can switch off here and there, and then I go over the base drawing again, because I know that this is a good picture and I'm drawing it well. It's just the rendering needs work, right? And the main point I want to make is that no matter how bad a drawing is, it can be salvaged if you have a sort of decent foundation. You don't really want to give up on a drawing unless it's beyond no repair. So what I did here is I didn't really know how to tackle the feet, so I just shortened the box up. I knew the foundation was good. It's just I needed to get to that foundation, right? So I adjusted her proportions on her face a little. I redrew the outlines, the markings on her skin tight bodysuit. Fixed her mouth, fixed her nose. Her mouth still looks a little bit weird, whatever. Fixed the hand a little bit. Do the phone a little bit in more proportion, and I try to render out these details right here and try to reduce the size of her butt, because I don't know, I still think it doesn't look right in the final drawing. But now getting to the rendering, I start to follow the forms of her legs, forms of the body. And I think that worked out really well. So I'm doing these curves right here. I'm doing curves down here. And then I did separate curves going up her arm to showcase that it's going towards the camera. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where I should have just done little squares instead of just zigzags for her zippers, because it doesn't really look like it's connected to her body. And then what I'm trying to do with my art as well is, with the line weight in my art, is push things that I want the viewer to look at. So if I want the viewer to look at the boobs or the butt, I heavily outline it in line weight, and you can see that in the final drawing. And for others, I try not to go as hard on the line weight. Put some shading on there. Follow the form. So I did diagonal lines right here, vertical lines, diagonal lines. I probably should have just shaded the collarbone instead of drawing it, but I did a little bit of both worlds. And then for this one, I also, so you can really see me following the forms of the legs and the butt. Still experimenting, still trying to find out what to do right down here. Right? Finally got it. I was like, okay, I'll just do diagonal lines, because trying to follow the form all in one clean stroke is not going to work. I probably should have darkened these lines up here. Did that for the butt. This was a bit messy. Don't really know what to do there. So it's going to be messy regardless working in pencil. Can't really get a clean image with the way I draw and the way I'm currently at in my skill level. What took the most amount of time is the hair. The hair I stippled. If you don't know what stippling is, you place a layer of dots one by one, and you just keep placing dots down over and over and over again until you get the desired blending that you want. So I tried that form following thing right down here, and it would have worked. It would have worked. I just wanted to try something else. And here's the stippling. This probably took me like 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. I was struggling. I tab out various times, just taking breaks. My hand hurt so much. And it looked well. See, I even tested my stippling was working over there. And the stippling turned out to be quite a good process. It's very satisfying to watch her hair get stippled. It's very satisfying. It's not calming. Anyone who says that stippling is calming it's not very calming. It's stressful. It hurts my hand, even when I'm doing it lightly and I'm not trying to put any pressure on it. But it led to a unique feel of her hair that I otherwise would not have achieved in my other artworks had I not stippled. I'm very happy with her hair. I think the best part of this drawing is her hair, I think. And the worst part of this drawing is probably her butt, because I still struggled with it even at the end. It looks a little bit too skinny for me. And at the end here, I try to make it a little bit bigger. Play around with the proportions. It didn't, because the butt doesn't really match up with her feet here from the reference image, and it's just me not understanding. So I get it a little bit better here. Get the curvature right. And then I didn't really know what to do for the background. And another thing that I think makes the art stand out is the panel, right? How you place your panels will make the art stand out, and it's a very simple way for an artist to do backgrounds. So I originally wanted her boobs and butt to stand out outside of the panel, like they're popping out of the panel, but it didn't really work because her feet and her collar right here would need to be drawn completely, and the reference image didn't include that, so I didn't really draw it. So the best thing I could do was have her butt hang out, and her hand kind of hangs out too because it's a little bit in perspective. So what I've learned from this drawing and what I've learned from my recent drawings is I'm struggling a lot with a lot more of these complex poses, and I'm struggling a lot with my experimentation on how I should shade and how I should tackle more complex shading topics as I become more skilled in art. And that's led me to struggle quite a bit and to take longer and longer on art pieces, because generally they're more complex and they're more time consuming because I choose more difficult subjects and I try to incorporate more detail in my subjects. The main takeaway is that I need to learn how to draw butts, clearly, and I need to experiment more with my shading and a little bit more with my line weight. I'm getting pretty good at faces, and I really like stippling for the hair. I feel like that's a very unique thing that I can do that will, despite spending way more time, is very time intensive, leads to a more well-finished product in the end, right? And those were some of my critiques. I can only self-analyze so much. I just need to keep on drawing. I just need to get better. I need to practice more complex poses and subjects to get a better understanding of not just anatomy in women's, but a human anatomy in general. And all in all, I feel like I did a pretty decent job on this one, despite me struggling a bit. I feel like I should have... I didn't really know what to do with the butt there. And I need to remember perspective when it comes to her boobs, because this boob should be smaller than this boob. But I digress. Only so much I can learn in one drawing session. Anyways, that was my critique for this Juri Han drawing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope this helps you in your art journey, and maybe you can learn some solutions to your own problems through the mistakes that I'm making. Thank you so much for watching.